Hello everyone, welcome to today's stream, day 46, and today I want to focus on a number of interesting topics. Many times I assume that people know things, but I don't want to do that today, okay? So I want to talk about a new concept or few concepts that are going to shape the direction of the flight booking engine, okay? It's not going to be the same as we've been doing. So in today's plan, I want to talk about a number of topics. Authentication. I want to talk about authorization. I want to talk about role-based access control. I want to talk about groups and permissions. Okay. So as we talk about this, feel free to ask questions or give examples. I'll also give examples. If you see that there's something I have not understood properly, feel free to explain it better in the comment section during the live stream or after. Okay, I'll be happy to learn from you and the entire community and that we're building, and everybody who is watching this will be happy to learn from you. Okay, so don't hesitate to share what you know in the comment section. Okay, we learn from each other, and I'll be very happy to learn and get a deeper understanding from you. So when I make a mistake, please correct me. So now let me just make sure, yes, I can see the screen and I have my notes ready. Okay, so I want to talk about each of these concepts, then I will actually implement them in the code. Okay, what is always interesting is the main challenge is always to understand something, okay, understand the concept, understand maybe a problem, then understand its solution or create a solution for it. Then implementation can be made easier, okay, with tools like AI. So authentication. Authentication, I think, let me start. I want to copy this, okay, and drag it to a new line, okay. I want to talk about one by one. So copy this and paste. So drag it, okay, right here. So let's talk about one by one. What is authentication? So authentication seeks to answer a question, okay. I'm going to use questions. It seeks to answer a question. Who are you? Okay. Who are you? Who is this person getting into the system? You need to answer this question. Who are you? Who are you? I want to try it right as fast as I can to make sure I am not wasting time. Okay, so who are you? Who is this person trying to access our system? So it is simply a process of verifying a user's identity before giving access to them. Okay, the main goal with authentication is identity. You want to verify the identity. Okay, that's why I say it seeks to answer the question, who are you? Okay, what is the identity? Okay, before we actually give you access. So the whole idea is this: before you log into maybe a website or any platform, okay, for example, using your email and password, okay, you can be asked in a form, please, for us to know who you are, first give us your email, okay. After giving us your email, also give us the password, okay. Using the email and password that you have given, the system or the website is going to determine who you are, okay, who you are. So ideally what happens is that you may find that the system has a table, okay, in their database. Just like us, we have our table for users, okay, having this kind of data, okay, rows with users, users, okay, having their emails, okay, find a table database with an email, okay. So again, I'm just simply going through this theory, and then we shall get into the practical of all of this. So the email and then your password. So with your email and password, okay, that's where there's a record here, a record here. So the system checks, okay, using the email that we have been given and the password that the user has provided, do they exist? Do we know them? Are they in this table? Okay. If not, you'll get a message like email, okay, maybe not email not found or password not found. They'll simply tell you incorrect credentials, okay, whether or not the user exists in the table, okay. if the user exists in the table, the email is compared with the email that was stored at registration. The password is compared with the password, with the hash password that was given at registration. Okay. So if either the email or password are wrong or is wrong, you get a message saying incorrect credentials. Okay. Or email or password is correct. Incorrect, I mean wrong. Okay. Then, of course, if they are correct, okay, they check the system. The system checks its database and finds that your email and password exists, okay, in the database and are correct, then you're given access. Okay. So that's how you verify the identity. That's the basic, very basic way of how identity of a user is verified. Okay. And of course, like I've said, if they match, okay, if this information you're given, for example, your email and password match, then you're given access. Okay. And that means you are authenticated. Okay. If they match, you are authenticated. So think about authentication like, imagine you're going to a building. Okay. You reach the entrance of an office building or anywhere you're going, a bank. Okay. And you asked, please show us your ID. Okay. You've gone to your government building to do some tasks. Okay. You're asked to provide your ID. Okay. So that's what authentication is like. Okay. Identifying who a person is. Okay. So that you can give them access. So that is how I understand authentication. If you have a better understanding of authentication, please share it in the comment section. Okay. I want to learn from you. I want others also to learn from you. So we're done with that. Okay. And again, we're going to, in fact, we have implemented already authentication. Okay. But we shall get on to modify. The next thing we need to talk about is authorization. Right now in the flight booking engine, we don't have authorization. Okay. But we have authentication. Okay. We have authentication well implemented. Okay. We have authentication well implemented. But now authorization we don't have. So what is authorization? Okay. Authorization seeks to answer the question, what are you allowed to do? Okay. What, okay, are you allowed to do? Is the question authorization seeks to ask. Are you, let me make sure that this is visible. Okay, it is. What are you allowed? What are you allowed to do? This is the question that authorization seeks to answer. Okay, so before you know what someone is allowed to do, you must first of all identify them. Okay, first of all, know who I am. In other words, first authenticate someone. Okay, first authenticate someone. And what is authentication again? Knowing who a user is. Okay, so after you've known who they are, you need to check what actions and resources can they access. Okay, what actions? Okay, this you're trying to answer the question, what actions? Okay, and resources can they access? What actions or resources can they access? This is what authorization is trying to answer. Okay, for example, okay, imagine maybe you're working at Google or any other company. Okay, and of course, like, all companies have resources. Okay, and things that people can do. Okay, in this company portal that is used for managing uh, uh, your company, people, okay, who are the administrators, I can call them admins. Okay, can remove employees. Okay, you can have an admin. Okay, in your company. Okay, in this company portal can remove. Okay, can remove an employee. Okay, has the authority or the authorization to remove an employee. Okay, meanwhile, a regular staff member cannot do this. Do you know that? Okay, a regular staff member. Okay, if you're just a regular staff member, you don't have the authority. Okay, to do that. Okay, for example, you can only maybe view information. Okay, can only view their own information. View own information. So after someone has been authenticated, okay, you find out who they are. I mean, after you know who they are, which is authentication, you find out what they're allowed to do. Okay. So I want you to understand that you might be authenticated, which is this first topic we talked about up here. Okay. You might be authenticated, is that you might have access to the system. Okay. You're authenticated, but not authorized to perform certain actions. Okay. You are known, but you are not allowed, for example, to delete. Okay. You're not allowed maybe to edit. You're not allowed probably to maybe view certain things. Okay. That's what authorization is. Okay. A guardrail around what someone can access and what they cannot access. Okay. Simply what they are allowed to do. Okay. So again, if you can explain authorization better, please do. Okay. So we've talked about authentication and authorization. In the flight booking engine that we are building, okay, I need to introduce authorization because we have reached a stage, okay, in the project right now whereby we can now pay, okay? We can now pay successfully for a ticket. But after we have paid for this ticket, the person has to receive their ticket. They receive their ticket by being given, okay? They have to be given by an admin, okay? An admin has to upload the ticket for a particular user, okay? Initially, it will be manual, okay? But going forward, it has to be automated, okay? Because right now, I would have to go, the admins have to go to an IATA certified company to issue the ticket for the person, then come and upload it. But right now, we do not know who is a regular user, who's just a client, or who is an admin. That is the challenge. Okay. So we need we need to identify, okay, that okay, so and so has logged in. Very good. But who are they? Okay. What are they allowed to do? Okay. Who are they? Okay. Do you have access? We need to identify them in that they are allowed to do certain things. Okay. So in the flight booking engine, admins will have permissions like to upload tickets for users. Okay. They'll be able to see all users, okay, who have booked orders. They'll be able to view and do certain things like you're going to see me doing in the upcoming live streams. Okay, so we're going to have, for now, we're going to have basically two types of users: regular clients who are simply wanting to book flights. Then admins will be responsible for ensuring that all people who have paid have their tickets. Okay, that is going to happen. So we're going to very soon we're going to talk about image uploads, okay, optimizations if required, and things like that. Okay, we need to do that as soon as possible, very soon. So I hope now you understand what authorization is, okay, and how it's going to work with the flight booking engine. If this is still not clear to you, again, ask me a question. If you understand it better, type it in the chat or in the comment section after this live stream. We shall be happy to learn from you, okay? I'll also want to learn from you. Now, I need to go on to the next thing, which is the role-based access control, okay? So I want you to understand this concept so that you can go ahead and implement them when you're working with in a tool, okay? Once you understand something, when you go to FastAPI, you'll be able to know how to implement the concept, or search how to implement the concept. If you go to I don't know, Django, Next.js, Nest.js, Laravel, Spring Boot, whatever, in Go, Rust, you'll be able to do this. Okay, that's why you say I understand the concept, and all I need to do is to find out how do people implement this in FastAPI. Like, all you know, this is my first project. Okay, you know that this is my first project I'm building using FastAPI. After learning FastAPI for 31 days, right here on YouTube with you, and now I am building a project using it because I know building a project is the best way to learn anything. So let's talk about role-based access control. You'll hear people calling it, let me get this pen. They call it, some people call it, is it R, it's actually an abbreviation, R for role, B for best, okay? Then the A for access, then C for control. okay? Role-based access control. So you'll hear this term a lot, okay? So don't get confused if someone says RBAC, okay, or RBAC, something like that. So it is simply a method of controlling access based on roles. And you're going to see that I'm also going to control access based on roles in the system, okay? In the system, when an admin logs in, okay, they'll go to a different section of the system, okay? When a regular user also logs in, they'll also go to different section of the system. You get? That's what you're going to see, okay? Admins will go to a different page where they can be able to like upload a ticket for a user. They'll be able to see statistics of all users in the whole system. You'll see that they'll be able to do things like maybe book tickets, okay? An admin should also be able to book a ticket for any number of user, okay? Right now, what we have is that a regular user will be able to book only their ticket, okay? Of maybe other family members, okay? But an admin should be able to book ticket for anybody, okay? And also one thing I have to do that an admin should be able to maybe modify prices, okay? Maybe like price, how they call them? Like for example, Black Friday, okay? If it's a Black Friday, you can adjust a discount, okay? For prices, maybe for people going to maybe Tokyo or people going to Japan, okay? Those kind of things, okay? I would want that to happen in this flight booking engine, okay? But let me not get excited. Like I've told you, the goal is always to finish the MVP and have it tested, okay? Finish the MVP and have it tested. That's what my goal is. And after I have the tickets being able to be uploaded, okay? I'm very sure I'll be very close to wrapping up the MVP, okay? Once you have a ticket being uploaded and you have a basic way that clients can talk to the admins, okay? Maybe via like WhatsApp, like you've already seen, or via like a basic chat interface on the system. It will be very, 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 very easy, okay? And you're going to see this. So let's continue, okay? Let's continue. I want to share with you my understanding of these concepts before I implement them. So like I said, role-based access control is simply a method, okay, of controlling access based on roles, okay? You're controlling, so you control access based on roles. So the question is, what is a role, okay? You should ask yourself, what is a role? If you know, you can type it in the chat for those of you who are watching live, okay? What do you think a role is? Okay, what is a role? Okay, if RBAC is all about controlling access based on roles, then what is a role? Okay, we need to define what a role is. A role is simply, okay, what, okay, someone is supposed to do. Okay, think about that in a simple way. A role, I want to check the chat to see that if anybody has typed anything. Okay, so you can, okay, this is a free space. You can, so a role simply defines what a user is supposed to do. As simple as that. Okay, no magic. Richard says someone's title. Okay, yes, that's actually that is it. Okay, yeah, you can actually call a role like someone's title. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Richards. Okay, I don't know if anybody else has their own definition. And actually, it's very important to understand the things in your own way, okay? So that you can easily explain it how you understand it, okay? So yeah, someone's title. Think about a role about someone's title. Or actually, your title defines what a person is supposed to do, okay? Yeah, that's actually correct, okay? Someone's title. What a user is supposed to do is usually their title, okay? In this case, we are looking at what a user is supposed to do in a system, okay? That is what role-based access control is all about, okay? So that's I've gone step by step, okay, to make sure that you understand all the things that we are covering, okay? We have talked about authentication, authorization. Now we are on RBAC, okay? So understand this, okay? What a user is supposed to do, okay, is simply a role, okay? Or their title, like Richard has said. So I want to make sure I've not missed out anything in the chat. Okay. All right. So maybe just to be organized, I want to define it. I'll say a role. Okay. Simply defines. Okay. Defines what you are supposed to do. Defines. Actually, sometimes have you discovered that sometimes when you write something, okay, like you understand it better. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know if any of you have experienced it, but every time you write something or on paper or on a whiteboard, you understand it better. Okay, defines what a person, what a user, not a person, but a user, okay, is supposed to do. And like Richard says, could be like that title. Okay, so how does role-based access control work? Okay, how does it work? Okay, how do we apply role-based access control? Okay, that's now you should be asking that question in your mind. Okay, how does it work? Okay, now that we know that role-based access control is all about, okay, controlling access based on a role, and a role simply defines what a user is supposed to do. How does this work? Okay, this is how I think. You define roles. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, you define the roles. Okay, and like Richard said, okay, you have to, these are simply titles, okay, titles. So you define the role, okay. So when you define this role, you define and say, okay, in this system, okay, maybe like for example, maybe in the flight booking engine, okay, we have maybe an admin, okay. So we have a title admin, a role admin, okay, okay, and we have maybe managers, okay. I don't know, maybe you're in a publication, maybe in a media company, okay. You have a manager, you have an editor, okay. These are roles. What a person is supposed to do. They're going to be focusing on editing, okay. Do some of the roles, okay. Then maybe viewer, okay. So the viewer role, okay. My chat keeps popping away. I want to make sure that I can always look at the chat. Okay, good. Now, once you define, okay, your roles, that okay, in my system, I'm going to have a manager, I'm going to have an admin, I'm going to have a super admin, I'm going to have a viewer. Like in the flight booking engine, I'm going to have two, okay, two things that people are supposed to do. You can either be a regular user, okay, or an admin, okay. So after that, you have to know that each role has specific permissions, okay. You have to define specific permissions for this role, okay. Define specific permissions, okay. And like right up here, I think I talked about permissions and groups, okay. We're going to get to that very soon. Define specific permissions. After you define specific permissions, I'm going to talk about permissions a little bit more. We then go to assigning, okay. So you have your role, you define users, okay. I'll say you attach, okay, or assign, okay. Assign a user or users, assign users to roles, okay. This what essentially it works, okay. But I have to explain to you what a permission is, okay. I have to understand that because I've said each role has a permission, okay. In fact, let me say instead of saying define specific permission, okay, I'll say, let me remove this, okay. I want to make this very simple for you, okay. I'll say each role, each role, each, wow, each role has specific permissions, okay. Has specific, okay. So the word is not fitting, but I can drag, select all that and drag, okay. Let me select it well, select, and drag, okay, there. So each role has specific permissions. These guys of TL created a very nice tool. Okay, so you first define the roles. Okay, in fact, so by defining roles, you have to define what are users supposed to do in my system. Then each role has specific permissions. Okay, and then these users are assigned to these roles. Okay, now in your mind, you should be asking yourself a question: what is a permission? Okay, what is a permission? So a permission is simply what defines what a person is supposed to actually perform on a very low level. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, by first of all giving you common permission types. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, so we're into permissions. Follow me very closely. Okay, in fact, we don't have to go in order. That go to gross permissions. We can always hop around. Okay, follow me very closely. Well, I didn't copy all this well. I wanted to select all this, copy, paste. Okay, I want to drag it down. Follow me very closely. Okay, and if anything confuses you, ask me. Okay, so this first of all go into permissions. Okay, as we understand how role-based access to control works. Now, with permissions, okay, this is how it works. Okay, a permission is simply a specific action a user can perform. Okay, and a particular role. Remember, I said define a role, okay? And each role has a specific action, meaning permissions, if you're thinking about hierarchy, a permission is under a role, okay? Permissions define what users and a particular role can do, okay? So a permission defines what an admin can do. If I say this admin has this permission, then this admin can perform the following permissions, okay? Can perform the following actions. I can say admin Nehemiah can perform the following permissions, or I can say admin Nehemiah can perform the following actions. Okay, so those actions are permissions. So let me give you a common ones. Okay, for example, in a system, okay, there's a permission for adding something. Okay, you can add something. Okay, you can always add something. Okay, like for example, in the flight booking engine, you can add a booking. Okay, you can add a ticket. Okay, you can always view something. Okay, for example, maybe you can view your own bookings. Okay, you can view your own tickets. You can view maybe everybody's ticket. You can view maybe particular people's tickets. Maybe you can only view tickets from Africa or from Asia. Okay, or from only India. So it depends. Okay, then after that, so you can view something. Okay, there's a permission for you to change something. Okay, or you can call it edit. Okay, you can change something. Permission to change or edit something. Okay, then a permission to delete something. Okay, to delete something. Okay, so like in the flight booking engine, maybe you can delete a ticket, you can edit a ticket, maybe edit a booking, you can view bookings. Okay, so these permissions, okay, you can assign them directly to a user. Okay, how can I write this? Okay, let's say you have a user. Okay, you can assign them directly to a user. Okay, like this. So maybe this user, maybe a user X, okay, can maybe change. Okay, maybe user Y, okay, user Y can maybe delete. Okay, but can also add. Okay, you can do this directly to a user. Okay, this is how permissions can be assigned. Or to make it easy for you, you can actually assign them to a group. Okay, to a group instead of doing it manually. You create groups. Okay, based on these roles. Okay, based on the roles. Okay, you create groups. Okay, you say I have a group called admins. Okay, So you can gather, okay? You can say for the following permissions, okay? For the permission of being able to delete something, okay? Delete something, okay? To be able maybe to delete a ticket, let's say delete ticket, okay? Can delete ticket, okay? Can view maybe orders, okay? View orders. Then can maybe add, okay? Add orders. All this, okay? Instead of giving users individual separately, which could be like maybe a lot more to do, okay? By having to, you put them under one container, okay? And so based on the role admins, I've created a group of permissions, okay? This is a group of permissions called admins, okay? So that instead of directly assigning each individual permission to a user, okay? I simply add a user to a group, okay? Say this user X is not part of the group, admins. I hope you now understand it, okay? Someone is saying, Light Echo BTM says, hey, I'm starting into backend dev, mostly Spring Boot and Java. Any advice? Thank you, Light Echo, for joining the stream. You've asked a good question. Welcome to the world of backend engineering. I hope you enjoy it. Personally, yeah, I've done full stack, I've done mobile, I've done embedded systems, I've done desktop, mobile apps, okay? Full stack, everything, okay? Not everything, but almost everything. But I've enjoyed backend, okay? Backend is really awesome. That's where I find joy, okay? Most recently, I started enjoying DevOps too. Yeah, so Light Echo, I can say you're on the right track. If you can understand by the backend and OOP using Spring Boot, I think you'll have a very, very strong foundation, Light Echo. I began actually my career, okay, in backend development using Java and Spring Boot, okay? Yeah, and if you master Java and Spring Boot, you're going to love and understand it, okay? It can be a little bit verbose, but Java teaches you so many OOP concepts in a very good way and a strict way. I can call it a strict way, okay? Whether you either learn or not learn. Yeah, but you'll come out good. So what I can tell you, Light Echo, is that be consistent, okay? When you're starting out your career, be consistent. Make up your mind, okay, and say for the next 6 months, I want to study Java, okay, or I want to study Spring Boot, and do it every day, okay. If it means doing it an hour every day, please do. Don't do it like on a Monday, then on maybe a weekend, do it for 4 hours. After 3 weeks, do it for another 2 hours. After 1 week, do it for 5 hours. After 1 month, do it for 10 hours. You won't go far, okay? Be consistent and do it every day. One thing I'll tell you, Light Echo, is that you're not going to be motivated always, okay? Motivation fades away very fast, okay? You might find, me personally, I think I can be motivated for maybe maximum of 2 days, maybe 3 days. I've never seen myself being motivated beyond maybe 3 days, okay? Some people, motivation can last an hour, okay? Or 2 days or 1 day, okay? So depending on who you are, okay, and what kind of person you are, but the point is that motivation that cannot take you far, okay? You'll be motivated for 1 day, 2 days, but what is going to make a difference is you being disciplined, okay? You're going to say, me as Light Echo, I do not care what my mood is going to be, okay? Whether I am happy, whether my friend has pissed me off, whether I've not got what I want, I am going to study Java and Spring Boot, okay? Every day for the next 6 months. And I'm going to make sure that I build a project, okay, a quality project that solves a problem or improves a problem, okay, and use it to network. I'm going to share public work, okay. I'm going to share this work in public. So as you build, share your learning progress in your progress in public, okay. And it has to be authentic and real, both your mistakes and your successes, okay. and try to network as much as possible as you do that. Okay, network as you start your journey. Okay, because it also matters who knows what you're doing. Okay, you might know a lot, but if people don't know what you're doing, no money for you. Okay, nobody knows how good you are. So that's what I can tell you. Okay, but first build your skills. Okay, and be very consistent. Be disciplined. Do not follow a vibe and motivation. Vibe and motivations don't take us far usually. Okay, and that's what social media tries to put people under. Vibe, short vibes. Okay, that may not help people. So be consistent and disciplined. Okay, build in public if you can. Okay, sometimes you may not build in public, but whatever you do in the end is so good that stands out and people notice you. Okay, yeah, that's what I can advise you for now. So let me continue. I hope that helped. If you have a follow-up question, please ask. So I want to move. So yeah, the whole concept of groups. Okay, so based on a permission admin. Okay, what an admin is supposed to do. Okay, I can group all similar permissions that admins can do. Okay, so a group is simply, okay, a collection or a container of related permissions. Okay, so that instead of assigning users these individual permissions, okay, one by one, I put them to a group. And if I add a user to a group, it means they have all these permissions. Okay, that's how basically it is. Okay, if I have maybe what else can I say? Okay, what example? I'm thinking about an example I can share in my mind. Okay. Yeah, I think that is it. Maybe for the flight booking engine. Okay. So we have like admins. Okay. Then we have the regular user. Okay. Let me just call them client. Okay. A client. For lack of maybe a better word. Okay. A client. Okay. So what will this client do? So the client, okay, will be able to simply do the usual things. Okay. Maybe add an order. Okay. Create an order. Okay. And create an order. Okay. After creating an order, they can view, of course. Okay, view their order. Okay. They can download their ticket. Okay. Download their ticket. So if I wanted to add a user to the group, if I wanted a user, okay, to have these permissions, okay, add order is a permission, view order is a permission. These are specific actions they can do. Download the ticket is a permission, okay. Instead of assigning this permission individual one by one, because imagine they are 10, okay. Then you have to maybe go to an admin portal, then assign one by one. It can be a tedious process. So simply what I do is I create a group having all these permissions and I add a person to the client group, the client's group. Okay, as simple as that. So I've talked about all these concepts. Okay, role-based access control, what a group is, what a permissions is. Okay, so I hope you have understood it. Okay, so if you're learning and you're enjoying this, please share this in your network. Okay, like the video so that YouTube knows this is something valuable and it can show it to other people on the platform. Now, next step is to implement this. Okay. And like many of you maybe already know, I've been working with Django. Okay. That's where I borrow from some things when I'm implementing code in FastAPI, and Django has certain things already built in. Okay. Like a group and table. Okay. So now that I understand the concept, okay, we can prompt AI to do what we want, okay, and then validate, okay, review the code given by AI. Now let me go to my code, okay, and thankfully this is a new month. My Copilot plan was renewed, so I'll create a new terminal and I'll use Cloud Sonnet 4.5. Happy to use it again, okay. Then I will do this. Okay. Come here. Okay. Files and folders. I want to give the backend as the context. Okay. Then this is what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm saying, I want, first of all, I want to guide it. I'll say, are you aware about the role-based access control, okay, groups permissions in Django framework, because I want to build something similar, okay, like in FastAPI, okay. I think one of the disadvantages of FastAPI is that it doesn't have certain things built in, okay. People always say, okay, Django is batteries included, has so many things, but I'm now finding it very easy, okay. For example, in Django, I don't have to create a groups model. I don't have to create permissions model, okay. All these are created, okay. The user model is already created. I can override it, okay. I can easily add users to a group, add the permission to users, okay, very easily, okay. So I want to I've asked it if it knows, okay. So if you don't know what Django is, okay, don't worry, okay. My goal is I want the AI to implement the same thing in FastAPI the way it is in Django, okay. In fact, after this, I'm going to also do my research to see. I'll go to GitHub and see how people have implemented role-based access control in their APIs on GitHub in their FastAPI applications, okay. Right now, I don't know how they do, because you know that this is my first time learning it, okay. But I've asked AI if it knows, okay. Then I will tell it the same thing, okay. So it says yes, I'm well aware of Django's role-based access control, groups, and permission system. Here's a quick overview, okay? It says Django automatically creates 4 default permissions for each model. And by that, light echo on everybody who's watching right now and those who are going to watch after the live stream, okay? These concepts apply everywhere, okay? So if you know how to do it, for example, in Spring Boot, okay? You can prompt AI to implement the same or equivalent or similar thing, maybe in Laravel or Nextjs or whatever, okay. Like now me, I'm very comfortable with how it works in Django, okay. I have it literally in my mind, okay. So you can do the same and you'll have results, okay. So you see, it says Django automatically creates 4 default permissions for each model, okay. Add, change, delete, view. Remember what I told you, okay, that permissions deal with whether you can add something, you can view something, you can change something, delete something, or any other, okay. So this is usually what Django has, okay. Actually, Django creates for every model. So imagine if this was Django, okay, and we have this user model, okay. For this user in DB model, okay, there would be four permissions created automatically, okay. Adding the user, changing this user model, deleting a user instance, or viewing, okay, automatically, okay. Then later you can create your custom permissions. Next, then it says custom permissions can be defined in models meta class. Yes, correct, okay. So the point is that 4 default permissions are created. Then also there are custom permissions. So I also want to have 4 default permissions, okay. Then they're saying permissions are stored in the auth permission table, okay, correct. Okay, so I'll also want an auth permission table. So say groups, say collections of permissions that can be assigned to users. Okay, that's correct. We just looked at that. It says allow bulk permission management. Okay, users can belong to multiple groups stored in auth group table. Okay, so the whole point is we have a table for groups, we have a table for permissions. Okay, then so user permission says individual users can have specific permissions via user.permissions. Okay, so there's a relationship. Okay, we won't have a foreign key. Then it says users inherit all permissions from their groups. Okay, so you can add a user directly to permissions. You can assign a user directly to a permission or to a group. Okay, so it says check permissions with user.hasPerm. Okay, so Django has a method called hasPerm. Even me here, I want to have something called hasPerm, which helps me to check if a user has a particular permission or belongs. Okay, that is if a user has a particular permission. Okay, then so it has common pattern. It says user.hasPerm. Okay, my app. So Django has things called apps. I don't want to talk about that here. Okay, but this is simply saying, does this user have this permission? This particular permission. So hasPerm checks for one permission. User hasPerm checks if you have a number of permissions. That's why you see they have a Python list here. Okay, and you simply specify these permissions as strings. Okay, strings. Okay, so I think here they are on a function. They have what they call a at permission required, a decorator that is used for managing permission. So I want something similar, not exact, but similar. Then they have templates, but if you don't know what a template is, it's okay. Okay. So if I expand this, okay, you'll see that you can even do it programmatically. Okay, you see from Django, okay, they have a group. Like I told you, it is inbuilt in Django, and I want something similar like this. They have a group already created, inbuilt, and a permission class. Okay, so you can create a group by saying group.objects.create. Okay, name equals to editors. So you created a group. Okay, then after you create a permission. Okay, then you add that permission to the group. So you say group.permissions.add permission. Okay, so you see the permission is called, the code name is called add article. Okay, so add article is a permission which has been created in the permission table. Then that permission is added to the group called editors. Okay, so that's why here you're saying group.permissions.add. So I want something. So it says, I notice your backend is using FastAPI, not Django. Would you like me to help a similar RBAC system for your FastAPI application? Why not? Yes, I want it. So before that, I want to do this. Okay, I want to say RBAC in FastAPI. Okay, I just want to see if there are existing implementations. Okay. Okay, this is a tutorial. I want a tutorial. Okay, let me say RBSC package. I'm saying I want to know if they have something like that already. Okay, let's look at these links. Okay. Meanwhile, let me just tell AI yes. I'll say yes. Okay. And then we shall review stuff. Okay. Like I tell you always, the goal here is to understand the concepts. Okay. So let me expand this. So by the other things that you can learn about, like attribute-based control, role-based access control, okay, relationship-based. So let me go back up. There is this one here, RBAC, relationship-based control. You can study ABSC, ABAC, attribute-based access control. Then this is what we talked about today. Okay, it's just a conversation. I'm not seeing if I'm seeing Caspin. What is Caspin? Okay. I guess we'll have to build our own, okay, and review what AI has done. Since we now know, so I'll say Caspin pip. But if you're following this and you know something, okay, PyPy, please let me know, okay? Let me know and share. So I'll go there, role-based access control, key features, this is GWT, pip install, implementation is an example. I want to see what they have, okay? An example of what they have. Okay, I can see. This has authentication. This is only dealing with authentication. Okay, I don't see any roles here. No problem. What was discussed been I saw on. This looks like some built-in stuff. Okay, to help you do it for you. Nah, I don't want this. It's okay. Let's go back here. Okay, so the goal is that we understand what it is. Okay, so we can now prompt AI. Okay, we can either prompt AI or we can build it from scratch if you want. Okay, but with AI, if you understand the concept, why not prompt AI to do something for you? Okay, why not prompt AI to do something for you and then code review it? Okay, so I want to code review. It's doing some things. Okay, wow, time is fast spent. Okay, so let me code review very fast before we move on. Okay, before I move on, I want to start my work. It is about 5 minutes past 8 a.m. here. So I'll go to permission. So you see in this group, in this file, like I said, From permissions, import group and permission. I seen that. From permissions, import group and permissions. Okay. Then let us. So it is now trying to mimic what happens in Django. That's what I've told it. So look at how I prompted it. I asked it, are you aware of Django's role-based access control groups permissions? Said yes. And it asked me, do you want me to implement something similar? I said, yeah. So Django has something called is active. Okay. This active flag is very important. Why? Because let us say assume, okay, you have a user called Nehemiah and you don't want to delete this user from the system. You can simply say active is false. Okay, you switch, you turn it's like a switch. Okay, whereby if active is false, the person cannot log in, but they have not been deleted. Okay, you can use it like to temporarily ban. Okay, then is super user is a person who has like access to everything. Okay, like assume like a portal. Okay, that we can go into. Okay, and find out what the person is doing. Okay, I mean a person who can see anything. Okay, that should be something like maybe us developers. Okay, so think about a super user of that kind. Okay, a user who has permissions, all permissions. Okay, then now let's look at this next part. I don't know if I have zoomed in enough for you to see. Okay, so you have the groups. Okay, so groups says it's a list. I think the annotation is a list group type of list. Okay, you belong to a list, so user can have more than one group. That's what this means. Okay, and it's a relationship. Okay, you remember how we studied about this. Okay, and it back populates to users. Okay, and it says it is a link model called user group. Okay, then you have permissions, so you can add a user directly to. You can add permissions directly to a user, or you can add a user to groups. Okay, so that's how even Django is flexible. So I want to borrow the same idea. Okay, so you can have a list of permissions, more than one permission. Okay, and back populates to users. Okay, and says link model user permission. So all this group and permission has been imported from permissions. So let's go to permissions. Okay, I was even thinking that maybe I would create a different, but okay, let me not go there to confuse you. Okay, so from users import user in DB, simply importing this very class here. Then, in fact, I'm thinking about changing this thing. Instead of saying user in DB, I'll just call it user, because this also in Django it is just called the user model. Okay, so I see a comment here saying permission model represents individual permissions like view flight, add booking. Okay, which is okay. So I see this. It's called a class permission. It's an SQL model. Why? Because it's going to be a class that is going to represent a database table. Okay, and then we say that table equals to true. Good. And then we have the ID, which is a UID field. Okay, and by default UID4 value is a primary key and cannot be null, cannot be empty. After that, we have the name of the permission. Okay, it's going to be a string. Okay, it has to be unique. Okay, it has to be unique. It cannot be empty. Nullable equals to false. It should be indexed. Okay, if you don't know what a database indexes is, but think about an index as a way to quickly access something. Okay, a way that helps you to access something. Okay, but I can explain indexes later. Okay, but it works like an index in a book to help you to quickly access something in your book or database. Then it has a code name. The code name should also be unique, should not be null, should not be empty, should also be indexed. Okay. Then, and I give you examples like view flight. In fact, this is how it also works in Django. Okay. The code name is like flights. Okay. The general model it's associated with. Okay. Then the actual permission. So flights dot view flights. If it was orders, you have that orders dot view order. Okay. If it was maybe ticket, it would be tickets dot view ticket. You understand? For orders, it would be orders dot view order. For tickets, it would be tickets dot view ticket. That's how I can easily explain it. Then you have a description, okay, which can be optional. Maybe you want to have more details, okay. Default, none, that is good. Nullable, true, it can be empty, okay. When it was created that, okay, this should be changed, okay. We shall change this, but of course we see it has been underlined, meaning it has been deprecated. Okay, we shall change that. Then now the relationships. Okay, it has a relationship to, okay, to the to the group, with the group, okay, and users. Okay, remember, a group can have several permissions. Okay, so you see backpopulates to permissions. Okay, link model says group permission. We shall check that soon. Then we have users. Okay, a user can have a number of permissions. So a group can have a number of permissions. Okay, and users can have a number of permissions. Okay. Actually, the best way to say it is that groups can have a number of permissions and users, not a group, but groups, plural, not singular. Then you go to the group. Okay, the group, you see that we have the ID, similar, name, description, created at, permissions, and groups. So I want to explain to you something. I think when I say link model equals to group permission, and I go up down here, okay, down here, you see the group permission. So look at this comment. I like the comment. It says a link table for many-to-many relationship between group and permission. See that? So this table itself has its own primary key, which is the ID. Okay, that's the group ID, the permission ID when it was assigned. Okay, so this group permission, okay, is used for grouping. I mean, for linking. Okay, linking this table and this table, these models, these two models. Okay, which of course represent tables in our database. Okay, group permission. The group ID. So this group ID here, this group ID is referring to this ID here, this one. And this permission ID will reference this ID in the permission table. That is how I understand it. If you have a better understanding, please don't hesitate to add it in the comment section. After that, we have the user group. Okay, it is to link the user group and the user and group model. Okay, and they say a many-to-many relationship, meaning a user can belong to many groups and many groups. Okay, can be assigned to many users. So many-to-many. And I think we saw it if I go back to users.py. Okay, see groups. Okay, user group. The link model is user group. Okay, understand it. I go back here. Where is this class? Come on. Here. Okay, this you get. Okay, then we have the user permission. What does user permission do? Is the user permission table. Okay, so everything, think about everything starting from here. Okay, but then is managed by several other tables. Okay, so I'll come here. So this is the user permission table, which we saw here. Okay, at the link model, what links is the user permission table, because these are many-to-many relationships. Okay, I know in the many-to-many relationship, you need a join table. You need like a middle table. Okay, to link, to have like one-to-many relationships to separate the left table and the right table. Okay, that's how I think about it. So, and I like the comment that it has given. Okay, let's say link table for many-to-many relationship between user and permission. Okay, so this is for direct permissions. Okay, when we want to give a user direct permissions. Okay, direct permissions. Okay, this is the attribute. We shall just say user in db.user.permissions, and we know all their permissions. How will this be possible? Because we have this table that will track, okay, the user IDs and permission IDs, okay, and when they have been assigned. Isn't that awesome? So I can keep this, come to this, and also keep this, keep that. I've code reviewed that. Okay, then in the init.py, why has it created two init.py files? Okay, was this one here wrong or something? I don't know, but let me delete it. We shall find out soon. Okay, in fact, let me restore it. Okay, I'm going to investigate why maybe my syntax for this previous one was wrong. Okay, so in this one here, okay, in this init.py, this is what has been done. Okay, the user in DB is imported. The booking status models are imported. Okay, but what is important that we have the permission, the group permission, which links a group and a permission, user group, which is the link table for a user and a group, then the user permission, which is responsible for linking the user and the permission. Understand it like that, my friends, okay? Then you have the underscore all. Who knows what this means? Then in the list, we have all this, okay? The user in DB, booking, all this. Who can explain? Who knows what underscore all is in Python? Who understands this? No problem, okay? Just remind you if you've forgotten, it is actually a special variable, by the way. It's a very special variable, okay? Which is typically a list of strings, like you're seeing, okay? A list of strings defined within a modules package. What makes a module, what makes a package, okay? This init module, okay? Underscore init underscore dot py, okay? So a list of strings defined within a package init.py file, okay? And its primary purpose is to control which names are exposed, okay, when a wildcard import is used, okay? What do I mean by wildcard? When I say maybe from users, okay, import star. This is a wildcard. Okay, this star means wildcard. Import everything. So it controls which name. So by using underscore all underscore, it means that when someone will say import star, import wildcard, only these names are exposed. I hope that you've remembered that. Okay, only those names will be exposed. So I'll remove this. Okay, I'll keep. Okay, then I'm seeing here that it has created the permission in the CRUD. Okay. In CRUD, okay? Permissions CRUD has created methods. Wow. Let me see how much time do I have. Oh my God. I'm running out of time. It's a lot. It's a lot to review right now, but let me go through it, okay? So at the top from SQL model, we have session and select, okay? We have I don't think we need list and optional. I'll fix this. We don't need this, okay? We can use the already inbuilt annotations by Python. Then we have everything else. Model is used in DB, but it has not been used. Then we have a class, okay? Let me do this, okay? We have 3 classes, okay? Actually, this makes sense, okay? So permission CRUD for performing CRUD operations on permissions, group CRUD for performing CRUD operations on the group, and user permission CRUD for performing CRUD operations on the user, okay? So just open this, okay? So it says CRUD operations for permission model, okay? So we have a static method. I hope you know what a static method is. Create permission, okay? Takes in the session, the name, code name, description, okay? Permission says create a permission, okay? So you see, it creates an instance of a permission, adds to the session, commits, refreshes, returns the permission. Very easy, okay? Very easy. I don't know what you guys say. I don't see anything complex here. So Chris is creating. Say get permission by ID, okay? Takes in the session and the permission ID, okay? And returns optional permission. Says session.get permission ID. Okay, that's okay. Getting permission by ID. Then it's also a static method, get permission by code name. Okay, so you can either get it by ID or code name. And actually, this is how it works actually even in Django. Okay, so code name, I'm saying select permission where permission.codename equals to code name. Why you need to do the same thing here? I'll investigate that. Okay, so return session.execute this statement. So this is the statement, okay, which was executed .fast. Okay, get all permissions. It selects a permission, okay, and it runs a list, okay, because this statement, okay, will give you a list, okay. These are all permissions, okay, but all permissions for who? Okay, these are things I'll investigate, okay. Then says update permission, okay, takes the session, the permission ID, the name, code name, description, okay. Then it tries to get the permission, okay. If not permission, simply return none, okay. If the name exists, it updates the permission.name to this new name. If the code name has been given, it updates the permission.code name to this new code name. If the description is not none, it says the description equals to this new description. Okay. Add to the session, commit, refresh. That's how you save to the database. Okay. Using SQL model or SQL alchemy, then you return the permission. So delete, I'll need to actually test this out that it works. Okay. Delete permission is this. Okay. So get the permission. If it does not exist, return false. Otherwise, delete, return true. Okay. So I'm guessing the other function has, I think it's where AI shines to help you do repetitive things. Okay. Personally, I'm not a master at SQL model, but I appreciate that at the time when I'm trying to learn things like this, AI exists. Okay. So for creating a group, we are seeing a similar thing. Okay. They're all static methods. Okay. And it takes the session, the name of the group, and the description, which is optional. Then it creates an instance of a group, passes in the name and description, adds, commits, refreshes, returns the group. Similar thing. Get group by ID, same thing, same logic like we saw before. Get group by name, same thing. You see, select group where group.name equals to this name, which has been passed to the function argument. Then it says return session.execute this statement.fast. Then get all groups, select groups. This is get all groups. Similar statement for permissions. Okay. Update group. This is the same logic. Okay. If the name is there, if we've been given the name, update the name. If we have been given a description, update the description. If we don't find a group, session.get group. Okay, by group ID. If the group does not exist, return none. Otherwise, add, commit the transaction, refresh, and return. Same logic. Okay, same logic. Here, deleting a group. Get a group by ID. If not group, if the group does not exist with that ID, return false. Delete, commit the transaction, return true. Come here, add permission to group. Okay. This is now the sweet spot. This is what I was looking for. Okay. To add permissions to a group, okay, you select. Okay. Now they're selecting a group permission. Okay. Where? Okay. So you're checking if the relationship already exists. Okay. That the group.id, okay, Control Z, group.id equals this ID that has been passed. Okay. And the permission, okay, also matches. Okay. Remember that groups have permissions. Can be this group permission table helps us to match to handle many relationships between groups and permissions. So we check that there's a relationship between the actual group exists. Okay. Because you've given us a group and a permission. Okay. Does that group actually exist first of all? And does that permission exist for that group? When that is done, we execute that statement. Okay. If it exists, we return true. Okay. Return true. If existing, add true. Okay. Otherwise, here it says group permission. Okay. It says group ID equals to group ID, which is this one here. Then permission equals to permission. Okay. Then it adds the group, commits, okay, the transaction, then returns true. So this is how we shall be adding permissions to a group. Okay. So to add a permission to a group, so just think about it in your mind. Okay. If I want to add a permission to a group, what do I need? Permission to a group. So I need the permission ID and the group ID to use that permission ID to add it to the group ID. As simple as that. Session helps us to get access to the database. Group ID is the group that we want to add. What we want to add to a permission. So before you add a group to you need to create a group first. Think about that. So creating a group is this one. You need this function. Okay. You need this function. You create a group first. Okay. If you need a permission ID, what do you do first? You create a permission. Do you see it? How it makes sense? So create a permission. You'll get permission.id. Permission will have its ID. After that, create a group. Okay. This group this function create a group will return a group, and that group will have an ID, group.id. Okay. So after you have that group, where is this group crude? Okay. When you've created a group, okay, when you've created the permission, then you can, for the first time, this part will run. Okay. This part will run. This one here. Okay. If you have a group permission for the first time, add, commit, return true. Otherwise, okay, If it already exists, okay, this will also run and return true. That is how I understand it. Next up, remove permission from a group. Okay. Again, to remove a permission from a group, you need to know the group and you need to know the permission. How do you know a group? You know a group by using its group ID, and you know a permission by knowing its permission ID. Then with those two informations, you can now, here you see they're saying select from the table group permission. Okay. From the table of group permissions, where group permission dot group ID equals to this group ID. Okay. So that in the group permission table, find me a group with this ID, find me a permission with this ID. That's the goal of this, my friends. Okay. After that, you say then this is the SQL statement. Think of this as an SQL statement. Okay, but by the ORM. Okay. Then it is executed, saying session. Remember, session gives us an attachment or access to our database. Okay. Session.execute or exec. I just say execute, but you can say exec statement.fast. Okay. So if not group permission, return false. Okay. Meaning that it didn't exist. Okay. Otherwise, we delete. Okay. So session.delete this group permission, then commit, return true. Okay. So do this. Then get group permissions. Okay. You want to get permissions for a particular group. So you need the group ID. Okay. So this is where you'll say the statement will be select from the permission table. Okay. Join. This is where now you need to know SQL. Okay. If you know SQL, this is like writing SQL in code. It's very easy. Okay. From permission table, join the group permission. Okay. Where group permission.id equals to that. Okay. So you'll get all permissions for a particular group. Then you return as a list, say session.execute this statement.all. So that's how my code review for this. If I open this, okay, saying user permissions, okay, this one is for assigning permissions to a user. Okay, so you can see the similar statement. Okay, to assign a permission to a user, you need the permission and the user to whom you're going to assign the permissions to. So the permission ID is the permission you want to assign to the user, and the user ID is the user to whom you want to assign the permission. Then of course the session giving us access to the database. So here we select, okay, from the user permission table where this user ID exists, okay, and the permission also exists, okay. These two have to match, okay. Remember, user permission table gives us a relationship, tracks relationships between users and their permissions, okay. If it exists, we simply return true, okay. If it does not exist, we create an instance of this user permission, add to the session, commit, return true, okay. As simple as that. So if it exists, return true. Otherwise, we add it. Then next up, we can remove a permission from a user, okay. We first of all find out if it exists, okay. If it doesn't exist, no need to delete, okay. No need for a database operation. We say true. Otherwise, we do a database operation, okay. We delete and then return true. And all these are also static methods, okay. See, static methods. Assign group to a user. To assign a group to a user, okay, we first of all check for the relationship, okay. We say from the user group table, we want to find out that is this user, okay. Find out in this user group table if we have a user with this ID, okay, and a group with this ID. That's the goal of this, okay. So to do that, of course, you need the user ID and you need the group ID and you need a connection to the database. So if they exist, if existing, return true. Okay, so they exist. Otherwise, we create an instance of the group, okay, and then make a database operation. Add the user to the group and commit, then return true. Come here, remove group from user. Okay, we first of all, from the user group table, we fetch a record where the user ID exists and the group ID exists. Okay, if they don't exist, we return false. Okay, otherwise we delete from the database and commit. So if that group does not exist, there's no need to do a database operation. That's why we return false. Okay. So static method get user groups. Okay. So this is for getting all groups for a user. So saying select from the group table, join the user group table where user.group ID equals to user ID. Okay, as simple as that. Then we list, return all of them in a list. Then this one is get user direct permissions. Okay, from the permission table, inner join user permission table, where user.permission is equals to user.id. So first of all, it will do a join between the permission and permission table. How will the join between the permission and permission table happen? It will happen using permission.id, okay, and an ID also on the permission table. Then after that, it will do a where clause, okay, and then return this, okay, in a list. So you need to understand your SQL properly, okay, to be able to do these things at a deeper level. Then we have get all user permissions, okay. Same thing. It first of all uses this what is called this previous function, get user direct permissions, okay. So get user direct permissions gives us all the direct permissions. Then it gets permissions from groups, okay? Because remember, you can either have direct permissions or permissions from groups, okay? So from the permission table, join the group permission table, join the user group table, okay? Where the user.group ID matches the group permission.group ID, where also, so here is like on, saying on, okay? Saying on, if you guys know SQL. So select from permission, join group permission, join user group on group dot on group dot group ID equals to group dot group. Wow, I've messed up. Let me repeat. Guess I'm tired. Says the SQL statement would be this, okay? Select from permission table, join group permission table, join user group table on user group dot group ID equals to group permission dot group ID, where user the group ID where user group dot user ID equals to user ID. One more time. Select from permission table, join group permission table, join user group table on user group dot group ID equals to group permission dot group ID, where group dot user ID equals to user ID. Take note of that, okay? So this is like the on clause, the on part in the SQL, okay? Then of course, this statement is executed and all, okay? So it says combine and deduplicate, okay? So it tries to perform this, okay? It says for permission in direct perms plus this, okay? So it's a list, okay? So remember, lists in Python, you can do that plus operation to combine them into one list, okay? So this will be one list, okay? Then it tries to pick permission, okay? Permission.id to perm, okay? And this is a set. You see, this is a dictionary, right? Yeah, key value pairs. Then return a list of perm.values, okay? Perm.values. So keep this. Wow, I've run actually out of time, but let us wrap up, okay? Let us wrap up. So we have this permission checker class, okay? So has perm, okay? Remember also Django has something like this. For those of you who know Django, if you don't, it's okay. So it checks if a user is a super user, because a super user has all permissions, okay? Simply return true. Checks if a user is active. If a user is not active, return false, okay? Then it gets user permissions, okay? Both the direct permissions and the permissions from the group. So it says user permission CRUD dot get all user permissions for this particular user.id. Okay. Session simply helps us to access the database. Okay. Then say check if any permission codename exists in a user's permission. Okay. So you've got a user's permission. Okay. So you say return any. Remember, you know what any is? Simply a Python function which returns true. Okay. Perm.codename equals to permission codename. I think permission codename is passed here, okay, to this function has perm. So essentially you're trying to check, does this user have this permission? Simple. Does this user have this permission? Is what we're trying to do. Okay. If you're enjoying this, please like this video and share with your friends in your network. Okay. And yeah, that is it. Okay. So it compares if in all the permissions have been picked. Okay. For every permission, for permission in user permissions, for every permission, okay, we're trying to check if any code name matches what we have passed here. Simple as that. Select that, has perms. Okay. Now this one here is now this one, okay, has perm checks for one permission. Has perm checking for a number of permission. That's why you see here it shows list. Okay, list. Okay, so same check, is it, are they a super user, are they active or not? Then it says return all. Okay, permission checker dot has perm. Okay, so it is now reusing this method up here dot has perm. Okay, for every permission code name here. Okay, so for every permission code name, call the permission checker dot has perm, which is simply this. Okay, then use the all. Okay, so all simply returns true. Okay, if for all the values, okay, in the iterable. Okay, if the iterable is empty, it will return, I think, also true. Okay, according actually to this comment. Okay, this doc. So that's how it works essentially. So yeah, I'll do this. Has any perm. Okay, so it's check if a user has any specified permission. So understand this. This one checks if a user has all specified permissions. You must have all. Okay, this one checks if a user has, okay, a specific permission. Okay, so you can actually read these docs. I like this docs given. Okay, it says permission can be assigned directly or through a group. Okay, talks about the arguments. Okay, session, database session, user instance, permission code name equals to flights.viewFlight. So I'll do this, close this, has group. Okay, checks if a user belongs to a specific group. Okay, for a super user, they have everything. Okay, so it returns true. If they are not active, return false. Otherwise, we fetch all the from user permission get user groups. Remember, we looked at this function previously. Then again, it checks if any group exists. Okay, let me know in the chat, guys. Have you loved this live stream? Do you understand what is going on? Okay, starting from the theory that we looked at. Remember, if you're just watching this right now, we began from here. Okay, looked at our today's plan. I went through all this. Okay, and when I made sure I've understood this, then I moved here. Okay, how is it going? Please let me know. Okay, it matters, by the way. So when you go to, so it has group for one group. Has group is similar to the one for has perms. Okay, so one permission, many permissions. Has group, one group. Has groups, many groups, and it reuses this previous function. Okay, and all only works if everything, okay, is true. If all here will return true. So permission checker dot has group is simply this one. Remember, this is called permission checker. Permission checker dot has group. So has groups is using has group. So this one is checking for one group if a user belongs to one group. Okay. This one checks if a user belongs to a number of groups. Okay. So here you pass several group names. Here you pass only one group name. Then has any group checks if a user belongs to any specified group. Okay. So you see all of them take the database session, okay, and the user, okay, and the group name or group names. So here you see, if this is super user, return true. If they're not active, return false. Otherwise, we check if they have any, okay, that any. If for group name in group name, if for any group name, okay, for any group name, check if the user belongs to this group. So the point is check if a user belongs to any, at least one group. If they belong to at least one group, return that. Then, so these are now convenience functions for the direct use. Okay, instead of you saying, instead of us saying permission checker dot has perm, okay, we have convenience functions outside the class. Okay, say user has perm. Say to check if a user has specific permissions, we can simply call this has perm. Okay, we can import it. Okay, Then you have has palms, has any palm, user in any group. Okay. And you can even create any other, like for example, we can create has group or has groups. Okay. Let me show you. You may not believe me. User in group. Okay. I can copy this, paste this, and I say user in groups. Okay. Then I say here, I'll change this. I say permission checker dot has dot has any has groups. Okay. Has groups. I can do that. Okay. What is AI doing? As simple as that. Okay. Then I can keep this. Guys, you're quiet. Are you understanding? Are you confused? Okay. Then I see something here. Okay. Another decorator. So where has it put all these things? Okay. So in CRUD, for the CRUD operations of permissions, we have this file. Okay. Which is not file, rather module, which is okay. Permissions. We have this permission checker. This is now in utils. Okay. Okay. This is a utility. Okay. I'll close this. It's okay. What else do we have? We have looked at this, I guess. Init.py, we looked at it. I want to wrap up. Okay. We looked at this in the models. We looked at these models. Okay. At the database table, level min. Okay. I'll delete this. We looked at users. This is where actually we started from. Okay. Delete that. So we have one more. Wow, this stream has actually been longer than expected. So here we have a number of import statements, okay? Wraps from function tools, okay? I understand, I now remember a little about wraps, but I'll need to read about wraps again, by the way, okay? So we have from typing, we have list, union, callable, okay? But we don't need to use the typing module actually. I'll edit that. FastAPI depends, HTTP exception status, session from SQL model, get session, get current user, okay? User in DB permission checker, okay? These are the imports. So require permissions, okay? They're saying decorator to require specific permissions for a route, okay? So this is what we're going to apply to actual route. So args is permissions, okay? It says single permission code name or list of permission code names, okay? And this is how it works in Django. I just asked AI to recreate it for me, how in FastAPI, because FastAPI doesn't have this inbuilt, okay? But I asked code AI to, which was Cloud Sonnet 4.5, okay, to do, and I think it has done a very great job, okay? So it says require all. It says if true, user must have all permissions. If false, user needs any. If false, user needs any permissions. Okay. So this is require all. So if true, a user must require all permissions. Okay. So it says giving an example of how to use it. Okay. For example, on our endpoint for flights, say router.get flight. This is now our path operation. Okay. Say require permissions flights.viewFlight. Okay. So if by default require all is true, which means the person, for any user to access this path operation, okay, flights.viewFlight must be there. Okay. Then you have something else, another example here, saying require permissions, flights.addFlight, flights.manageflights, require all equals to false. Okay, that's another example they've given. Okay. So when we get the permissions, okay, I want to minimize this. They're saying normalize to list. Okay. So they're saying if is instance, okay, permissions, a list, okay. If this is not a list, but a string, okay. If this is a string, okay, simply a string, because look at the annotation, okay. It can be a string or a list of strings, okay. A string meaning one permission, a list of strings meaning multiple permissions. Then, so if it is a simply one string, okay. If permissions is a string, okay, then we add that to a list, okay. Otherwise, you shall not is a list. We shall simply have it, okay, as the perm list. Then they have now a decorator. Aha! Now remembered wraps. Yeah, what we use in the decorator. Okay, so we have a decorator and takes a callable. Callable is simply a function. Simply taking a function. A function is something. A callable is something you can call. Okay, and a function is something you can call. We call functions. So it's a callable. That's the annotation. So inside here, we have the wrapper function, okay? That takes in some dependencies like get current user, get session. Okay, this is for getting, this is the database session, and this is for getting the currently logged in user. Okay, and takes in variable length arguments and keyword level arguments. If you understand Python, this is very simple. This is still Python. Arguments, functions, decorators. Then here you see says check if user has required permissions. So if require all, we check permission checker. Remember we built not we built. I'm saying we built as I coded it from scratch. AI built, okay? But we have reviewed it. Say permission checker has permissions, okay? We pass the current user and the permission list, okay? Else, we use permission checker has any. Remember, if require all, we have to use has perms because has perms checks that you must have all these permissions, okay? But if otherwise, we use any, meaning at least one, okay? At least one. If at least one, return true. Then we go next thing. Then it says if you don't have permission, okay, we raise an HTTP exception saying permission denied. Required permissions this, okay, because it's a list, okay, we convert it to a string, okay, by saying we convert it to a string separated by commas, okay, and by commas and a space saying using this join, okay, so join this permission list to a string and separate with a comma. Okay, so permission list, join it to a string, to one string separated by a comma and a space. So a comma space between each permission. Then the usual stuff that we do in decorators. Okay, return await, func, the function. Okay, and pass the args, the variable length arguments, pass the current user, pass the session, which is the database session, and the keyword or key value, okay, key value arguments, okay. Yeah, that is it for the wrapper, which is inside. Then that wrapper is returned, okay. Then finally they return this decorator. So this they require permissions. So require groups is similar, okay, to it, okay. In fact, if I go to its implementation, you'll see require all, okay. You check if, remember what we just reviewed, this has groups. Let me just go to it, okay. Has groups, okay, has groups checks that you must belong to all, okay, all those groups, okay, all those groups. Then has any group at least one, okay. So if you're not in the group, then we shall raise an HTTP exception, okay, saying access denied. Required groups are all these groups. So we, from the group list, we join to a string separated by a comma and a space. As simple as that. And better look at the status code. It is 403 forbidden, okay. Take note of this. Status code is 403 forbidden. If I go back to this other one, require permissions, open this, okay, it is also status.403 forbidden. So those small things will have to be considered. Otherwise, you can confuse a front-end developer, okay, on what to do. And of course, status comes from FastAPI import status. Yeah, so quite easy. Then the same structure actually, you see, the return func with everything, the variable length arguments, the current user, session, and the key value arguments. Then they return the wrapper. If you minimize this, then they return the decorator. Then require groups. Then require super user, okay? So this one to require super user status, meaning you must have all permissions, okay? It's even much easier, okay? Look at this, okay? So if current user is not a super user, we simply return, okay? So this is just a boolean. It can either be true or false. So again, the correct status 403 forbidden, and say super user access required. So can we close this, close that, okay? Then it says FastAPI dependencies for direct use. It says alternative to decorators. Actually, also Django has the same thing. It has decorators and alternatives. AI has gone crazy. Okay. So dependency class for checking permissions in FastAPI routes. I may not actually even use this. So in the init, look at the init, okay? Takes in the permissions and require all boolean, okay? So it checks, okay? It instantiates permissions and require all. So if it is a string, Okay, if it's an instance of if this is an instance of a string, why? Because it can either be a string or a list of strings. It puts that string to a list. Okay, otherwise, if it's a list, it just returns that list. Okay, and gives it to this attribute. Then we have call, takes in the current user and the session. Okay, or the best session. So if self will require all, okay, then we check all the permissions. We see if you have all the permissions. Okay, you must have all of them. Otherwise, we check if you have any. Okay, then if in any case if this is false or this is false, we shall catch you here. Okay, and we raise exception. So similarly for groups, okay, they do the same thing. It is here for groups, same logic. Okay, if you have all groups, if you must belong to all these groups, you can belong to at least one group. Otherwise, exception. Okay, and also here you see they return the current user. Right here, what do they return? Also current user. Okay, this is good. So these are dependencies. Okay, if you need dependencies, remember FastAPI dependencies, we learned about them. Then also we have a super user dependency, which is the easiest. Okay, if you're not a super user, simply it will be false. Okay, and we raise an exception, return the current user. Yeah, so it depends. You can use decorators or you can use dependencies. What do you think I will use? What would you use, rather? That's a better question to ask. What would you use if it were you? Again, if you're joining for the first time, I suggest, okay, first watch the first part, okay, where I go through the theory, okay, all this theory, okay, and then after that, come to this, okay. And if you want to understand this deeply, okay, if you understand it deeply, ensure, okay, that you understand this, okay, first, then this, okay. So I've gone through the code created by AI, but I believe I have successfully talked about today's goals, okay, how I think it should work and how I've used my experience from the past, okay, working with things like Spring Boot and Django to apply it to FastAPI. And what do I want to show you? Okay. The next step is now to apply these migrations. Okay. I have run out of time to go and start my day work. Okay. But the next thing is to use Alembic. Okay. To apply the migrations. Okay. But this is not correct. Okay. This is correct. But so you see, it says Alembic revision auto generate. Okay. Add blah, 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 blah. But this has to happen in the Docker container. I want it to happen in the Docker container. Okay. Then maybe I can, okay, actually, I'll try this. Then maybe I can either apply this in a Docker container, then have the file outside the container, or I can apply this right here and then to reflect in the container too. So I wanted to show you this. So after this, of course, I'll test it out, okay? Then apply it to maybe an endpoint to test it, okay? But the testing, of course, I'll show you in the next video where we're now going to we're going to start working on the admin specific things, okay? We shall now go between admin specific, user specific, okay? So that I can finish my MVP as fast as possible. I want it to be tested in the real market by my colleagues, okay? Then I fine tune the MVP once it's ready. Wow, there's so many things I need to do, okay? Because my aim of this project was to build a project using FastAPI, but also learn so many things concerning front end, concerning backend, concerning DevOps, concerning AI, concerning so many things, okay? One project helping me cover everything. Because I believe you can build one master project that teaches you 90% of concepts that you'll need. Maybe even 99%, who knows, okay? So yeah, that is it. Thankfully, looks like paying for Sonnet helped me write code. But yeah, it takes time to review. Okay, I've discovered even though I paid for this tool and there's wrote code for me, it took me some good minutes to actually review every line of code and to make sure that I understand the code it has written. And so the first step is I have to understand the code it has written. Okay, you have to understand the code it has written. Secondly, you also have to understand whether the code it has written fulfills your purpose, okay, or fulfills the business requirements. Those are two different things. You might understand the code it has written, but it does not fulfill your business requirements. So you might have to change it or prompt it to change it, okay? And sometimes, so if it fails to change it, you must be able to change it manually. And But also the first step, if you don't understand what it has written, how will you be able to know if it satisfies your business requirements? So either way, you have to learn how to code. Like that's the whole goal. It's like it's an illusion, and like there's no escaping learning how to code. That's the whole point. You have to understand, okay, and then use these tools to do things faster for you. So I've personally, it has been profitable, okay, and yeah, I can't wait to uh to I don't know what's the right word, to apply it, to test it out. Yeah, later after I'm done with my work. So again, if you've liked this video, please share it with people in your community, in your network. Okay, let's learn, build this community, and yeah, subscribe. This is something I'm going to be doing for a long time, like you already know. Okay, so 100 minutes spent to find this stream, and I want to go to my day job. So bye for now, and see you in the next stream.